All right. Um, so hi, welcome everybody. I'm so glad that you took time this morning slash afternoon, wherever you are, or 3 in the morning to join us. Again, my name is JJ. I'm going to be hosting. If folks want to introduce themselves in the chat, you can drop, your names, pronouns, if you'd like to share any org affiliation you have, and we could just say hi to one another. Yeah, it's good to see some familiar faces. Great. All right, so again, excited that you chosen to take time out of your Saturday and holiday weekend to join us today to cook. And so with that, I want to share some ground rules that'll help make today run more smoothly. Today will consist of 3 essential parts after this intro: cooking with Rosa, listening to some speakers, and a call to action portion, plus an optional eat and chat a couple minutes at the end just to share some reflections and maybe show off how your buns turn out. So people are going to be cooking, trying to follow on to Rosa to their screens. So please be mindful of being respectful, not disruptive, both during the cooking process and also during the speakers. Of course, feel free to ask a clarifying question if you need for the cooking portion, especially any assistance along the way. Also, please be aware of how much space you're taking up in the chat or in dialogue, stepping in, stepping out, just being mindful of that and engaging in good faith to support this as a learning space. Okay, so with that, it is my pleasure to introduce Jian Ya, the co-coordinator of the Lift or Let Individuals Freely Travel campaign and a professor of history and Asian American studies at Northwestern University. Take it away.
Hi, everybody. It's great to see you guys. I'm just going to update you all a little bit about the LIFT campaign. We're a national coalition of 3 networks who together have about 500 members around the United States. We represent humanitarian workers, healthcare aid workers, musicians, artists, scientists, engineers, educators, community organizers, just ordinary people from across the United States. And of course, as you know, for Korean Americans, one of the most heartbreaking issues is the issue of separated families. And the travel ban was put in place by the Trump administration in 2017, and that really increases the heartbreak for everybody concerned. Before 2017, we have been able to go to North Korea, engage in civilian exchanges, do all kinds of interesting things. And we did do all kinds of interesting things, everything from running a week-long surfing camp for North Korean youth to medical education programs, humanitarian aid, other kinds of education programs, musical cultural exchanges, et cetera, right? And of course, we also went to see our long lost family members. According to the North Korean envoy in New York, during that time period, we had about 500 or 600 applications every year for Korean Americans to go to North Korea to visit family or to search for family. None of that can happen any longer because of the travel ban begun in 2017. This is a travel ban that needs to be renewed every year in August. So the Biden administration has had 2 opportunities to just quietly let the travel ban expire, and they did not do that. They renewed it last year in August. They renewed it again this year, last month. And so our campaign has been, we have sent letters to the State Department. We have spoken with State Department officials. We have spoken with congressional members. And we're also trying to do public education to spread the word about why the travel ban needs to be lifted, why American citizens really need to be going to North Korea. And this cook-along today is part of that effort. So I really hope that you enjoy the cook-along and also have some opportunity to think about North Korea and the travel ban and peace on the Korean Peninsula. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for that update and context. I hope that was helpful for people joining. And to keep in mind as we have this time together. So we are going to pass it now to our chef today, Rosa, who is a home chef and a bona fide sourdough enthusiast. She has previously won a competition for her kimchi bread that we'll be making today. Rosa, please take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. What a wonderful organization to support, and yeah, carving out your Chuseok to make these wonderful kimchi buns. First things first, you should have gotten a recipe list before the event. And so wherever you are, make sure all of that is out because we're going to be working with them really soon. And in terms of logistics, what I want all of you to do is first set your oven to 350 degrees and make sure there's like nothing in the oven, because when there's things in the oven and you preheat it, like it takes much longer because it's like heating up all the random pots and pans. And if like, I don't know, I feel like Asian households, we always have something in the oven. So make sure all that is out, preheat the oven to 350. And yeah, and also have a saucepan on top of a burner. And then we'll get started. Once we'll do that, I would love to see a thumbs up in the chat, or like not, or like I'll just assume that everyone's good unless you put like a thumbs down. How about that? Okay, sounds good. And I just wanted to quickly show you my mise en place. Oh God. So yes, so we got the chives, the cinnamon, sugar, sesame seeds. A baby whisk, not necessary, but great for the quality of life if you ever want to whisk something small, a cutting board, some kimchi, some Spam, and some sesame oil and some other baking stuff. Okay, sorry, give me a second here. Okay, so why don't we get started? So first, what we're going to do is we are going to make the kimchi filling. And the reason why we're going to do this first is because the kimchi filling is going to be hot. And when you put something hot in a cold dough, it might, you know, really mess up the baking process. And so we want to do this early on so that it has the time to cool as we're working on the other prep. So what I want everyone to do is open up their Spam. That's just such a dangerous part. Oh, I hope no one saw that juice coming out. Okay. And then we're gonna dump that Spam like so. So this recipe only calls for half the Spam, but if you are, you know, if you love Spam and you like, I don't want to save half of this for later, by all means, you can use all of it. I just found that using half of it is good enough in terms of the ratio. So split half of this and you're gonna save the other half. We can put it in here. And so you're going to just dice the Spam into like bite-sized pieces. So what I like to do is I like to cut it like that and then put them on its side. And then oh gosh, sounds good. I'm going to dice it up into bite-sized pieces. Sounds good. I'm going to get a plate right here and put it in. Sounds good. So we got the Spam right here. And for the kimchi, so I know a lot of Koreans, we love to cut our kimchi with scissors. So I have scissors here. If you didn't know that, it changes your life because you don't have to get your cutting boards dirty and, you know, your hands all kimchied up. But for our intents and purposes, I'll just chop it with my knife. I'm just going to wash my hands really quick. Okay, good. So we're going to put the Spam right here. And then we're going to just start chopping like bite-sized pieces. And for the kimchi, I mentioned in the recipe, it should equal about to 1 cup in volume. So what that looked like for me was around like 4 to 5 like Napa like leaves. But again, if you love kimchi and you just want more of it, feel free, use your discretion. Food is food and you can't really go wrong here. Okay, awesome. So we're going to put the kimchi back in its plate. Sounds good. And then once again, It's so interesting, like being perceived when I cook, because it's sometimes really mindless. I'm trying to like over communicate. So what we're gonna do is now we are going to go to our stove and we're going to start cooking the kimchi. I'm gonna carry you guys over here. Stove. Okay, so we're gonna put this on medium high. Okay, sounds good. Medium high. And I know usually we wait until the pan is hot, but since we want to render the fat of the Spam, we're actually going to start putting it in earlier so that we can, use all the juices and the Spam and like cook with the kimchi. So the order of operation goes, we're going to cook the Spam first, and then we're going to add the kimchi later, and we're going to just start, make the magic happen. So with that, I'm going to add a little bit of grapeseed oil. I use grapeseed because it has a high smoking point and it's good for, high temp cooking, but, any oil would work. Avocado oil, canola oil, vegetable oil. Sounds good. And now let's get the Spam. Yep. It's like the sizzling is a little like ASMR-y. Sounds good. And just a time check. I hope everyone's oven is still preheating to 350. Okay, sounds good. So we'll let that sizzle for about like a couple minutes, and we're gonna make sure the fat is all rendered. And just get this. Sounds good. Oh, and if you are a vegetarian, you can totally skip the Spam part and just add a little more oil and just go right in and pop the kimchi in. Someone reached out to me about that. I think, yeah, I'm not sure if you can see this, but like a lot of the Spam like fat is like already coming out, which is great. This is what we want. By the way, if you have cinnamon and sugar in your mise en place, make sure that is handy. We're gonna be using that to add into this beautiful Spam kimchi mixture later on. So make sure, as this is rendering. What I did was I actually like combined the cinnamon and the sugar in like a little dish, so that it's just easy. Okay, sounds good. Sorry, I'm like, there's a lot of chats going on. Okay.
Yeah, mostly comments about your beautiful kitchen and how much we love Spam.
Oh, nice. Yeah, beautiful kitchen. You can see this cooler and some water over there. Okay, so after you see the Spam browning a bit, I think this will be a good time, and it's kind of like sticking to the pan a little bit. We are going to deglaze that with the kimchi. So we're going to add that in.
Okay, so while this is sweating out, I'm gonna put this to medium now. Let's do some other stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna actually get this out of the way. As I mentioned in the recipe, first we're gonna have the cinnamon sugar, so make sure to have that prepped somewhere. We're also gonna make the egg wash, and the egg wash is important because we're going to coat all our buns in the we're going to coat all the buns with the egg wash before it goes in the oven. And the purpose of that is it makes the buns really golden brown. And it also adds sort of like a crisp caramelized like exterior. So what you're going to do is you're going to crack an egg in a bowl. This is from yesterday. And so it's magic. It's already here. So it's a good swat. But you're going to do is add the egg and then add, a couple tablespoons of milk. The milk I had was oat milk from Costco, but you can use any milk, cow milk, almond milk, anything. And what you're going to do is you're going to mix that and we're going to set that aside. And for the chives, so these are all for like coating the bread afterwards. Or green onions, if you have green onions, make sure to chop that fine as well. What that will look like is if you have some long strand, just make sure to cut it until they're like around this size. And lastly, for sesame seeds, also optional. But it makes it look really good and it's crunchy and it adds like a subtle sesame flavor. So make sure to have that on the side as well. Sounds good. Check in on our kimchi. Oh yeah. Smells really good. How are people's spam kimchi mixture looking? I'm like asking when people it's like an empty room. But
Yeah,
I know it's not empty.
Does anyone want to share? Does anyone have like maybe a setup where they can share their status? Becca, are you cooking?
Hi, yeah, I am cooking.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're feeling better. Show us what you got.
Okay, let me turn my video. It smells so good, by the way. Got the kimchi and the spam cooking over here. I don't know if you can hear it, but it also sounds really nice.
Wow.
Yay.
Thanks for sharing that. One I gotta find. Where's that again? Good to see you
Okay.
too.
So after it's kind of like sweated out a little bit, and the way you can tell is the spam should be coated in like the kimchi, and like the kimchi should, before it was like really firm and now it's like a little like relaxed. And so you'll know when you know, sorry, that's not helpful. You'll know when the cabbage is a little wilty. Okay. So I'm gonna turn that off. Okay, so as I mentioned, the cinnamon sugar mixture and should be handy dandy. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna coat it a little bit. I'm just gonna do like, and whenever you like salt things or like put things, make sure you like go really high so that it like evenly distributes around the food, if that makes sense. After that, and what I like to do, which I forgot to mention, is sesame oil. Sesame oil has a low smoking point, so you ideally want to add it towards the end when there's not a high heat, or roasted sesame oil. Unroasted sesame oil it's different, but for roasted, what Koreans like to use, just add it to the end, so just like a drizzle. And with any good cooking, what I encourage all of you guys to do is always taste it to see if it needs anything. Good. Okay, we're good. We're gonna keep that to the side. Actually, not yet. Okay, so because we're sort of in a time crunch, what I'm gonna have
folks do is actually put this in the refrigerator because we want this to be as cool as possible. So I'm going to put this in my baking tray. When I was doing the competition, I was on a time crunch. I was like freaking out because I'm like, this is so hot, it's gonna ruin everything. So they had me use their industrial freezer. And where I did it was like Napa has like a Culinary Institute of America, and so like they have like unimaginable cooking supplies, and it was just really cool. But yeah, freezer works perfectly. That's all I'm saying. But I feel like my freezer is just always packed with things, so the fridge will do. Okay, good enough.
All right, I'm just gonna double check. How are people doing? Thanks, Betsy. We're good? Okay, cool, cool, cool. Sounds good. All right, so now what we're gonna do is while the kimchi mixture is cooling down, we're gonna get the bread set up ready. Oh, little spam guy right here. Okay. Get a second here. If you all feel confident with like working just on your tabletop, feel free, but I just like to use parchment paper on the bottom just so that it's just clean and I just know it's going to be sanitary. But the star of the show, the Pillsbury Man French bread. So I want all of you to open this. Has anyone ever done this great on the first try? I just always never get it. Okay, so if you're like me and what is it? It hasn't opened. The instructions, you know, say to use a spoon and it'll pop open. Oh, okay, yeah. All right. Okay. It's a long little guy. Okay, come on out. Okay. All right. Okay. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to split it evenly for, you know, 5 different parts or yeah, I think 5 is what I have to be tested. Okay, we're going to put it here. Actually, let's do 4. I think that might be easier. Okay, so if people saw how I did that, I just split into half and I split the halves into other halves so that we have even 4s. Okay, so what's happening next? So what we're going to do for each of these bread pockets is we're actually going to spread it out, kind of like how you do like a pizza dough, right? Okay. I like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to add the kimchi filling in here, and we're going to wrap it, coat some egg wash on it, and then sprinkle it with sesame oil and chives, sesame seeds and chives, and we're going to all line them up on a baking sheet and we're going to bake them. So what I'm going to do is, so I want to just show you how I did that. Make sure to have a baking sheet and some parchment paper or foil, whatever you have to line it. If you don't have either of those, you can also just butter your baking sheet, but just have this handy. I know it hasn't been entirely a long time, but we're going to take the kimchi fillings out again. Hope for the best, and hopefully they're not too hot, but if it is, it's okay. It's still going to taste really good. I cheated and I made some beforehand, and so This one is very cool. So. But to elongate that, let's just expand this. Let's just work on the bread first and just like expand it as much as we can so that we can just elongate the time the kimchi filling is in the fridge. Sorry, mixed messages here.
Rosa, why is it important to wait for it to be cool? What's like the reason behind that?
Because it'll start cooking the bread. And we don't want that. We want it to be cool as possible so it's an even bake. Because what will happen is if it's really hot, it might cook the inside faster than the outside, and that might lead to like very inconsistent textures. And like with any baked good, like being as cold as possible, like reduces like spreading. So like the best chocolate chip cookies require fridge time, and bread you have to put in the fridge. It's like kind of like a good hack.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Okay. So we got it. It's beautiful imperfection pizza dough-ish. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get the filling. I'm gonna add it. And you guys don't have to be greedy here. I mean, you could if you want, but the objective is that we want to envelope this bread as evenly as possible. So I would say like a couple spoonfuls is good. And what we're gonna do is kind of like a letter. We're just gonna like hold everything on top of each other. Okay, once you have this, we're gonna do like a teardrop shape like that. Just hold it in place. We're gonna pinch it. I'm gonna flip it around and we're gonna just rotate it. So the seams are all like rubbed together so that nothing falls out. Okay, so we got our first ball. I'm gonna set that aside. We'll get the second ball. Good. And teardrop shape, pinch it around. Seam side down. We're gonna rotate it so the seams all come together. Set it aside. And just keep repeating it. And if you all are going much slower, that is totally fine. I just have made like hundreds of these. So like, it's just like very second nature. So do not worry. Teardrop. Okay, so we got all four. Amazing. We got the egg wash. We got the sesame seeds. And we got the chives. All right. So what I found was you could totally brush this, but what I found just so that you don't have to wash or like dishwash another kitchen utensil is I just like dipped it in, you know. And then I'm gonna put these guys too. Okay. And then we're gonna first
Do the sesame seeds. Let me do some of the chives. And for the chives, I just like to kind of just press it down so that I can just ensure it's all good. Okay. And what I noticed with the Pillsbury dough, it is slightly more sour and more bitter. And so if you are more of like the sweet tooth and like want something more sweet, you should have had the cinnamon sugar mixture handy, you know, as we were making the kimchi. So I recipe tested it with it and without it, and they both taste good depending on what your taste preferences are. So, you know, if you're curious, I would also just sprinkle it on one of them just to try it. Sounds good. So as I mentioned, you should have had a baking sheet ready. So we're gonna put these guys on a baking sheet. Okay. How cute is that? It's so cute, little fellas. And we are gonna put it in the oven for, I would say like 22 minutes in total. Sorry, you can't see my face. 22 minutes in total. For like the most even bake, halfway through, we're gonna like rotate the pan. And so what that means is, let's say you put in the oven this way, after 10 minutes, you're literally gonna do like a 180. And, you know, so that it's all, the oven had, you know, the opportunity to like evenly like spread its heat across your buns, if that makes sense. So we're gonna put it into your preheated oven.
Rosa, before we get to that point, is everyone like ready to put it in the oven? Are people at like differing points that we can like spot check? Is everyone's buns ready? Slower time.
Okay, you're good.
Does anyone have their buns ready? Sticky fingers here. Still shaping, but almost done. Okay.
I know, guys. I had swaps, so I cheated. You guys are doing this real time. But
Yeah,
the original recipe is we make the bread dough by hand, but I was like, oh, sorry. What was that? I don't know what that was. I think my oven has a zit or something.
Something pop again.
It might have been like a water vapor or something like that. But yeah, it's really exciting. I hope people enjoyed it or still enjoying it, you know. Oh, my bread dough recipe. I could send it out or we can share it here, but it's if you ever had like a challah, like it's like a yeasted like buttery like dough. It's so good. It's like so warm and soft. It's amazing, but it takes a long time. So it's, as all things, all great things take time. And so we definitely did not have time to do that today. So the Pillsbury man came to the rescue. But yeah, I will be available via chat if anyone needs like advice or help or any specific questions. But I think JJ, for the sake of programming, we can move it forward.
Sounds good.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, just DM me or chat. I'll monitor that. And yeah, thank you, everyone. Excited to see how the bread turns out.
Yeah, we'll definitely be doing some show and tell later. Thank you, Rosa, so much for walking through that. Yeah, it was super fun and definitely learned a lot along the way. So while everyone's kind of finishing up their shaping and putting the buns in the oven and then doing the 180 flip halfway through, we do have a few speakers and a quick call to action. So I am going to quickly pass it off to the speakers who will share some stories about Lyft, travel ban, how it's affected their work and their life. So first up is actually going to be pre-recorded video, which I'm going to pass over to Jian to screen share.
Okay, great. Let me screen share this.
Hello, my name is Rick Downs, and I'm not there. I couldn't make the session, but I did want to kind of throw out a few thoughts about the reason that we're all together besides the cooking. I am the president and the executive director of an organization called the Coalition of Families of Korean and Cold War POW/MIAs. It's a long name. I did not come up with the name. We are an organization of family members who are missing loved ones from the Korean War. Our fathers and grandfathers, now uncles, all went off to war and never came back. They're missing in action. They have been over there for 70 years waiting to be brought home in former battlefields, former POW camps, and like my father, in individual air loss crashes all over North Korea. So it's been an ongoing issue, which we have worked in concert with both the government and with nonprofit organizations to try and see what we can do about ending this mission, bringing these men home. And the travel ban that has been imposed for the last few years is a block to this happening. It is a limit. It is prohibiting many different missions going. In our case, it would eliminate me arranging to have some sort of a collaboration with a nonprofit who travels to North Korea and knows how to do that. And so the opportunity in my case to be able to go around to where we think my father's plane went down and talk to the villagers and see what they know. You know, did he make it? And was captured and sent off to a POW camp. Was he lost? Did he die in the crash and is now buried in their local cemetery? These things can be learned, and it's very frustrating to not be able to just simply go and do it and look and find out. And the political tensions and between our two governments, the DPRK and the US, are one thing. But when they overlap into the humanitarian effort, then you just kind of go, why is that happening? We have relations with many nations where we have a lot of problems, but we still continue the humanitarian efforts. But there are a select few that the United States tends to just get very narrow-minded on. And anyway, that's not why I'm here. So there are missions like mine that want to do their work in North Korea and cannot because they can't get access because of something that really doesn't make any sense.
All right, thank you, Jian, for sharing. And yeah, much appreciation to Rick Downs for sending that video. Okay, next up is Juyeon Ri, who's here. Juyeon is a member, Noritol, and a previous coordinator of KEEP, or Korea Exposure and Education Program, DPRK, which is a group that brought delegation members to North Korea from 2001 through to 2017, when the travel ban was first instituted.
Hi everyone, happy Chuseok, and hope your buns are going to be really well, come out to be well done. My name is Juyeon. I just want to speak a little bit of my experience in relation to the travel ban. So as Rick just said, there are things that you will never know unless you are there. One of the experiences that I have gained throughout my trips is that there are a lot of cultural resemblance. In order for us to build a peace, we need to also, people-to-people connections, that we really need to build some trust. And the Koreans from the South Korea and Koreans from the North Korea, they share the similar cultural background. But no, even knowing so, it was really hard for me sometimes to maneuver through, like, the cultural differences. But one thing that I realized in 2006 was that, in 2004, when I went, there was a plastic bag that I took some things, and then I guess I left it, or when I was giving a very small like present to somebody working in a hotel, I put them in there. And then I realized when I went 2006 that she still was reusing it. The gift bags, and nothing is being thrown out. They reuse and reuse and reuse. So when 2007, there was some international talks about the food aid being like diverted, and the package, the sacks of the food aid with Red Cross in it were found in some undesignated area. One of my delegation members said, aren't they recycling the packages again and again? Does that finding of the package or finding of the wrapping in some other places, does that mean that the content was redirected, or is it that simply that they are reusing the wrapping paper or the wrapping or the packaging? I mean, these type of things, when you go and visit and talk to people and mingle together, then you realize that it's much more closer and you can understand it better. There are a lot of things that we need to understand, but as a peacemaker, it is crucial that we need to be able to travel to that land. Not because only this is our homeland and we have a right to visit our homeland, but also as a peacemakers, we really need to be able to talk to the people on the ground to really gauge what are their sentiments, what are their desires, and what we can do as an overseas Koreans. And that's it is a very important, and I think our program, the Keep DPRK, has a lot of popular potential to grow and to disseminate the messages of peace within the US. And I really would like to have the travel ban lifted so that not only the nodal members and overseas Koreans, but also the US people can go directly and experience these the people and culture, and how diligent North Koreans are, and how proud they are, and how they are eager to go about their daily lives. That will, I believe, make a foundation for us to really work on people-to-people exchange and people-to-people building of the peace. That's all. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was great, really well put. All right, so next up we have Jenny Joy, who has traveled in and out of the DPRK on humanitarian and educational projects until the travel ban closed the door for her. She is actually joining us from South Korea right now at, what is it, probably 4 a.m. And she currently works for the Catholic Institute for Northeast Asian Peace.
So much like Juyeon said, you can't know the situation on the ground unless you're able to be there, unless you're able to go talk with people, unless you're able to see it with your own eyes. And from a humanitarian perspective, why is that so important? Well, you're always trying to find donors for projects. So for instance, like I partnered with Red Cross, the North Korean Red Cross, not the International Red Cross. Juyeon mentioned how long it takes to build trusting relationships. And in Korean culture, it's usually through introductions, right? So-and-so trusts someone and then they introduce someone else, and then the networks expand like that. So it takes on the ground in-person meetings to build the level of trust that you need to be able to maintain the humanitarian projects. So I had a friend that had been able to travel in and out of North Korea since the 1980s, who made an initial introduction to me to the North Korean Red Cross. The United States has carved out an exception for organizations that have a long history of interactions with North Korea, but that doesn't apply to individuals who were fundraising among their families and friends and partnering with local North Korean organizations. It's not the same kind of burden of proof that the United States government wants. So all of the work that we had done has just been on pause. So no more assistance to hospitals, no more assistance to orphanages or the organizations that the Red Cross is supporting, that the Red Cross is seeking assistance. Juyeon mentioned how important it is to hear from North Korean people what their needs are and what they want to do, how they want to resolve them. And then when we work together, there's a theory called conflict transformation. So if we want to be peacemakers, how do you transform a conflict? You come together with your enemy and you work together on something. You join hands on something that's difficult and you work together to achieve a goal. And then suddenly you find your enemy is now your partner, and even in many cases, your friend. And so I think more than anything, Americans need to have access so that we can, if the State Department truly cares about diplomacy and ending conflict, if that's really their agenda, they definitely need to reverse this travel ban to give Americans access so that we can work together with North Koreans on the ground. We can observe that aid is delivered appropriately. We can continue to work on problems that they see as important, that we agree are important. And then as we work together, that's how you'll transform a conflict. That's how you'll make peace. So this is vital that we get access.
Thank you, Jenny. Lastly, we have Rose, who is going to be introducing herself. Here we go. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. Happy Chuseok. Thank you for joining us today. I'm here zooming in from Queens. I've been a member in the past of Nodoto and a supporter. I've been working with the Lift campaign since I believe it started at the beginning of last year. I was invited by Hyun Lee to participate. So thanks for allowing me to share my story. My parents came to the US in 1959 and settled in Los Angeles when, you know, the Korean community was very, very small, not anything like today with the businesses, the huge churches, the variety of businesses. My two older brothers and older sister were all born in Korea, and so I'm the only one in my family who was born in the US. I grew up in LA with little extended family since, you know, they were mostly in Korea. My grandmother lived with us and raised us until I was about 11, and then she returned to Korea. And my siblings and I were, you know, latchkey kids. My parents worked a small business. They were gone in the morning before we went to school. They came back, you know, often late at night when we were in bed. We depended on frozen meals, you know, TV dinners, trays of frozen chicken. And so there was a sense of isolation and disconnection from family and culture that I later realized was the experience of the Korean diaspora. My father died 6 years ago at the age of 86. He was born in Kaesong, which is now officially in DPRK. I'm embarrassed to say that I knew almost nothing of the Korean War until I was in my mid-30s. I mean, for like most Americans, it was an unknown war, a forgotten war. You know, everyone keeps calling Afghanistan the longest war in American history. Meanwhile, the Korean War continues unresolved today. When I started finally asking my parents about their war experiences, my mother talked with me. My father refused to say a word. At one point, he asked me to write down my questions on a piece of paper and promised to answer them, and he never was able to. Through my other family members, I learned that, you know, that he had been forced by his mother as a young man to leave home when the war broke out because she was afraid that he would be drafted into the war. He was never able to return home after the country was divided. He died never knowing who of his family was still alive. My father is gone now, but I still carry his wish to return to his ancestral homeland. To find out what happened to his family. At Chuseok, at the start of the new year, it's a tradition for Koreans to return to their ancestral homelands. And it's, you know, it's unjust that we are not allowed to travel back to, you know, our parents' homeland. And this travel ban, needs to be lifted and fought. And we need a peace treaty to end this war. And hopefully one day, yeah, I'll be able to go to Kaesong and to see my relatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. And thank you, Jian, Jenny, and Rick via video for sharing. Yeah, definitely hearing a lot of different points from access to finding families lost in war, hearing and learning from the North Korean people, humanitarian aid, diplomacy, and accessing our ancestral homeland. So thank you so much for sharing the various perspectives. And yeah, so with that, we're gonna transition now to a quick call to action. So we're just gonna spend a couple minutes to reach out to the State Department in the chat. We're gonna be dropping the Instagram and Twitter handles for the State Department and Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. And so what we're asking everyone here to do is to reach out to them via Twitter or Instagram if you have either of those, and share a personal message urging them to lift the travel ban. So we have a couple samples of things to write that will also drop in the chat. So anything that you feel personally that you've heard so far today from the speakers, or some of these samples, such as, my parents are separated family members, lift the travel ban so they can visit their family, or medical care, food, water, or human rights, lift the travel ban so people can receive necessary care. Or, I'm an artist / musician, physician, educator, scientist, etc. Lift the travel ban so I can engage with my peers, my professional peers in North Korea. And yeah, when you post, there's a couple hashtags that we want to share as well. So like hashtag lift the travel ban and hashtag let individuals freely travel, which is what LIFT stands for. We'll be posting those too. And you can also tag the organizations that are responsible for this event. So the LIFT campaign, Nurito, Women Cross DMZ, and Korea Peace Now. And all this will be dropped into the chat too. You're just gonna get a bunch of spam things. Okay, so while we're doing that, I'm gonna just share some music so we got something going on. Yeah.
Can I offer a suggestion?
Please, of course.
After you have tweeted or Instagrammed at these people, if you drop the link of that post into our chat, we can all go and we can like and retweet.
Yeah.
Amplify our message.
Yeah. And then I saw a question here, should we leave a comment or send a direct message? And I think the idea was to post a tweet itself, but yeah, I think kind of whatever you feel comfortable with, or yeah, would prefer, just to get the kind of blast message out there. Yes, thank you. There's also, so, we kind of gave some samples of one-liners, but there's also a full letter that Korea Peace Now organization has already written to the Secretary of State. And that is, the second most recent link in the chat right now. And it's called A Letter to the State Department to Lift the Travel Ban. And so that you could even just like link the whole letter as well. Yeah, that's true, Betsy. If you're comfortable and able to, a public blast is better.
I like no blueberries in my ice cream cake. No air to breathe.
Just making sure
without
everything was
my
shared.
stop
Yes,
it.
sample messages.
I need a hostage free. I need a rocket ship. I need to run from. I like no blueberries in my ice cream.
Oh, so they'll acknowledge Chuseok, but not the letter that we sent. Okay. See how it is.
I need a hostage free. I need a rocket ship. I need to run from you. I'm just kind of lost. I've been looking down a lot.
We'll give everyone a couple minutes to work through that.
Now tell me when to stop.
Here we go again to this beat. Tell me why you wanna be so sweet. Tell me what's in your eyes, baby. Red, green, or blue. Welcome to the other side. I keep losing my temper for you. I love it how you think I'm always this cool.
Thanks, Rosa. It's good to know. Rosa posted and said, if anyone can't read right now because they're cooking or tweeting or whatnot. For the buns, hers are taking a little bit longer than 22 minutes. If they're not golden brown on the top, you can add 2 minutes to baking time and keep cooking. I hope people did their rotation as well.
I need a rocket ship, I need a run from you. I'm just kinda lost from you. I've been looking down a lot. I'm falling way too soft from you. Now tell me when to stop.
Your motto, pass me the tea, good old, don't make me shoot. Scene full of rappers, jump with the model, so we need to go. Drop to the floor, 움직여 we blow. 어쩌겠어, I'm stylish, she the way we I'm a vibe, revealing me, I'm more, yeah, oh, she knows it. She's in love with me, and that's a drug and dangerous doses.
In love with your poses. Can't see straight, can't focus. Get chills when I see your old face, you the coldest.
I
like no blueberries in my ice cream cake. No air to breathe with that masking tape.
Stop, please. I need a hostage free. I need a rocket ship. I need a run from you. I'm just kinda lost from you. I've been looking down a lot from you. I'm falling way too soft from you. Now tell me when to stop.
So now you're blown on your covers. I got this blue to make you come up. So when you think it's almost over, I got this blue to make you come up. So now you're blown on your covers. I got this blue to make you come up. So when you think it's almost over, I got this blue to make you come up.
좀 외로운 세상이야 외로운 세상이야 We want shooting star 세계 나름이야 oh, 범죽이지 말고 burning 때때로 원대 어차피 다르고 다르지 그렇듯이 종이 한 장자리 까맣게는 정이지 밤하늘을 뜨고 쉬어 멀쩡하게 서이지 깨도진 내 world 머리가 돌아가지 않아 뛰어박자 제자리잖아 So baby I'm just out of my mind Baby I don't wanna waste my time Life is so lemon, lemon, lemon Lemon, lemon, lemon Life is so lemon, lemon, lemon Lemon, lemon, lemon
손에 봐 인생인 건지 얼마나 떨어져야 돼 번지 털어서 나오면 안 되잖아 먼지
Yeah, there's also some additional call to action or actions that you can take that don't involve social media that we can go through now. I hope that people were able to send some tweets or share an Instagram or read through the letter if you haven't already. So yeah, thanks everyone. We hope that the State Department will get the message. And so, yeah, after today, you can also take action by contacting your congressional representatives to show support for the Peace on the Korean Peninsula Act, or HR 3446, as well as Screening Crossings, which is a film that follows some 30 women Korean peace activists. To request a screening of the Crossings movie, there's a link that we'll drop in the chat. And if you do that with your organization and you'd like a speaker, you can also contact Alicia with Women Cross DMZ to set that up. All right, so in the chat, we'll link to the bill, the Peace on the Korean Peninsula Act bill. as well as the information on the costings screening or costings film, Alicia's email, and a link on kind of summarizing this and learning more on what can be done to help with the travel ban. All right. How do I see the tweets? Oh, I don't know. How do I see the tweets and multiple links? Yeah, Betsy, I'm not totally sure, but yeah, if you made, I'm not super sure how that works, but other people have just been dropping the link of the actual tweet that they've made. Okay, I found my tweets. Great. All right. And everyone, yeah, make sure, I know we're all intently listening to this, but also make sure that your buns are not burning. Okay, lastly, save the date for October 11th through the 14th this year, which will be a week of action for Korean peace with the Korea Peace Now grassroots network. So you can join, as we'll call and email members of Congress to urge them to co-sponsor the aforementioned bill, the Peace in the Korean Peninsula Act. So the registration link for that week, as well as all the other links and information shared in the chat today, that's going to go out to everybody who attended and registered for this event. So that will be in a succinct email as well. All right, so yeah, thanks for your solidarity and work in this brief call to action and sharing future actions that can be taken. And yeah, I'm gonna pass it back to Rosa to return to the buns. And we'll keep the music playing, but if you can't hear, like, just drop in the chat. I'm happy to like adjust the volume.
How are people's buns looking? From Nevin? Mine just came out, so. Good, they're really hot, but one of them burst open, which is so unfortunate, but it's okay. I think cooking teaches us to be okay in this section. But the initial test, it feels like it's nice, hot. And if you don't know when to take it out, it's just good they have like a golden brown. Like, I don't know if you can see it. Oh my God. Golden brown. My mom told me to like rip it open for like great cinematic effect. Oh God, it's too hot for this. But yeah, like definitely use your discretion if you feel like it needs more time. So I usually have a cake tester, but I can't find mine right now. So like, if you have like a skewer or a chopsticks, you know, if you just want to make sure there's like no weird dough clinging on to your sharp utensil. So yeah, if you just like want to make sure it's cooked all the way, but it should be fine. I think like 25 minutes for these buns should be solid. Mine took 28. So, and all ovens are made differently. This one's really funny. It has like a little, like, how did that happen? Yeah, and if you have a cooling rack, definitely utilize that. If it'll help just like cool down the bun a lot faster. Yeah, happy Tuesday.
Those look amazing. I was saying earlier that they look like something out of like Patty Baguette. So beautiful. All right. So yeah, how did everyone else's buns turn out? Are there other people that, you know, want to share? Or are people still in the oven? Still cooking? Okay.
I can try it for you guys.
5 minutes away. Exciting. Oh, now we're onto the mukbang portion of the event, watching Rosa eat.
Wow.
Are you trying the one with the cinnamon sugar or? The plain one.
I got it. I'm eating the imperfect one first.
Oh, the one that burst. True chef, you eat the ugly one first. Betsy says, let's see the inside.
Oh yeah, here. Oh.
Wow, wait. Stay there. Oh my god. Just took a picture. Look great.
I think with the French bread, I think it like if there's a lot of like baking soda, like it tastes a little metallic. And I feel like the Pillsbury ones, it kind of does taste slightly metallic. Sorry, you probably what the fuck does that mean?
No, I kind of know what you mean. The pre-made dough you're saying tastes metallic.
Yeah, it just yeah. So the original like bread is like much sweeter and it has lots of butter. But this is pretty good still. It's like for a Pillsbury guy, this is pretty solid. You can remove that from the recording.
We'll scrub that. Fix input. All right, well, as people are kind of trying to wait for their buns to finish up, we did have a few conversational prompts that we wanted to drop into the chat. Yeah, are there, from what you've learned from this event, did anything surprise you? And are there any sort of like other memories or stories or connections that came up for you during this event?
I've been thinking over the last couple days as we're coming up to Chuseok here in South Korea, seeing all the traffic, seeing people moving, seeing everybody buying gifts and carrying gifts to their family members' homes. I've just been thinking about how painful it would be for someone whose family or ancestral place was across the border, whether that's people celebrating Chuseok in the north, because they do celebrate Chuseok there, or it's people celebrating here in the south, family members that they haven't been able to see for years, and the family members like Rose, that they've never met, that they are always wondering about, what's my family like? Where are they? The roots that they're seeking. And anyway, it could be a painful time. So I'm really grateful that we were able to gather together, but I hope we don't forget those who were unable to. I hope we can all just keep pushing to see this ban lifted, to see the war ended, and I'm grateful.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Does anyone else have any like takeaways or kind of parting thoughts?
Yeah, I think for me, I was thinking about this recipe and how for contemporary South Korea, the kimchi spam mix is so appropriate for Chuseok, but also made me think about how, the prevalence of spam and its status as a gift, a high status gift, is really all about U.S. military involvement in Korea and the consequences of the Korean War and the ways in which, American things and American people and American culture and the U.S. military is still seen with, a kind of reverence almost in South Korea. And so also reminds me of the fact that the South Korean military has not been independent, and that still if, war breaks out, which it could because the war is not over, the South Korean military automatically becomes subject to U.S. military command. And so all of those things kind of going through my head, and also that my dad, who grew up in Hwanghae-do, which is now part of North Korea, every Chuseok, every Seollal, he talks about growing up there and his older brothers and their families who are still in the north. He hasn't seen or heard from since 1950, when he and his parents left the north. So all of that just going through my head this past hour.
You know, I also wanted to add, I didn't mention that even though my father never went back, he did find out that his mother and brother had been killed by US bombers. And yeah, so just about, you know, I don't know, the ongoing violence. And it is, you know, very chilling. So, and I was also thinking about, like, you know, when I was a kid and how rare it was for Koreans. And so when they would arrive at the airport, we would all get dressed up and go out to meet them. Like my parents used to take us all out, and it was such a huge event. And, you know, now I guess it's easier to, you know, see people on the net or to travel. And yet, you know, as Jenny was saying, to think about this barrier between the North and the rest of the world, it's really terrible.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, Rose, and thanks for sharing your reflections. Yeah, thanks, Chuti, for your feedback. For folks who are still with us, how have your buns turned out? Is there anyone who's ready to show them off? No, Gio and Alex and Becca they were still in the oven. Betsy's checking the timestamps.
Hey everyone, mine just got out of the oven, so I can give y'all a look. They're over here.
Oh,
I think they look pretty good. They look pretty golden. Some of them are like a little bit open, but they still look good. So I'm excited to try them. They smell really good.
Read to us again. Sorry, I know you just.
Okay, sorry.
I want to take a screenshot. Beautiful. Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the one thing that I was thinking about as we've all been talking for the past hour is that for me, I didn't grow up celebrating Chuseok really. Like I'm second generation on one side of my family and third generation on the other. So I think it's really through being able to connect with other Koreans like you all who are really committed to like remembering these really painful histories and really doing something to remedy just like so much of the violence that has happened. That's been like a really important way for me to really explore my own family history and re-experience tradition and building tradition. So yeah, I feel really grateful to be able to spend Chuseok with all of you. Yeah, I would also love to see other folks' buns too, if they've made their way out of the oven.
I can show off my buns that me and my mom made. Yeah, so here's ours. They're not as pretty as Rose's, I don't think, but I'm pretty happy with them.
Wow.
Yeah, I think one or two of them burst, but overall super excited to eat them. They smell incredible. And yeah, I think very similarly to Becca, this is kind of like the first Chuseok I'm like consciously sort of celebrating with other people, and it feels really nice to be with other Koreans and community. So yeah, this is a really nice event. So thank you everyone for organizing it.
Yeah, thank you.
Because they're flavorful.
Yeah, yep. That's what I'm thinking. Everyone who had their buns burst because they're very excited to be eaten. Alex, did you share yours too? I missed that. I'm sorry. Oh, I don't know. All right. Wow. Well, thanks everyone. Fair enough. True. That's amazing. I love that people made them with their families and everything too. All right. Well, thanks folks. If you got a chance to snap a picture once we send out the email, if you wanted to share that with us, we'd be, that'd be nice. We can kind of do a little share blast, but yeah, thanks for people who followed along, who attended, who joined us for the calls to action as well. Yeah, we'll be sending out the recipe again and maybe a dough recipe. I don't know, depends. I don't know if we're gatekeeping that. And all the links to calls to actions and letters that we shared earlier.
Echo had one more question
Mm-hmm.
in the chat. What actions do you plan to take after this event? I was thinking about going ahead and getting a physical address for the State Department and just writing them a card, a Chuseok card or whatever, and just, you know, making an appeal in the mail.
Yeah, that's great. Does anyone else have any other thoughts?
I just want to direct everybody's attention back to what was posted in the chat earlier about the possibility of hosting a screening of crossings in your community or if you're a student on your campus, and about the October advocacy days, and think about participating in that.
Yeah, thanks, folks. All right. The October advocacy days were October 11th through the 14th. That's awesome. Great. All right. Thanks, everybody. I hope that you enjoy your buns. Oops, that's way too loud. Your buns and the rest of your Chuseok weekend and the rest of your week. So yeah, we'll close out. Thanks so much. Look out for the email from us. Thank you. Yeah, of course. Thank you for joining.
Thanks to the planning committee.
Yes.
Thank you for keeping the help on track and Dan and Julie for the traffic, Becca for all the meetings and all the team invites and coordination. And Denny too.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Shout out to Becca too.
Yeah, for real.
Thank you, Rosa. Round of applause. Saikem asked how to get more involved with Korea Peace Now. Does anyone want to take that question?
Where are you at?
I almost just lost that.
So I would say contact Alicia Choi or Elizabeth Cho and let them know that you're interested in joining and what region of the United States or elsewhere in the world you are. And they can hook you up with a local chapter or with, they can hook you up with us with the Lift campaign. That would be great.
Thank you. I'm in Philly. Oh, yes. Please drop the email.
Yeah, for Alicia or Echo. There's Alicia's right there.
So I just put the email addresses in the chat.
It'll be awesome to have you as part.
Great, thank you. Thanks for dropping, thanks for the question and also for sharing the contact information. I'm just writing all this down so that we remember to send it out. All right. Well, I think at this point we can close out. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining again. And yeah, have a good day. Bye.